today's video, we're going to take a look at the Olight S1R Baton. I got this one from Skyben on Amazon to review. I'll leave a link in the description to this entire kit. He throws in an LED USB key and a nice little holster that fits on a 1.5 inch utility belt. It's pretty handy because it fits the flashlight nice and secure. And this little USB LED thing is pretty cool too. It's a good little addition. It's actually pretty bright and pretty useful. It's a compact everyday carry flashlight that uses a TIR, total internal reflection, optic. It has a tail cap magnetic charger, so you can easily charge it off any USB source. That allows you to have it running for hundreds of hours if you need to. If you carry a battery pack anyways, this will become very handy for you. If you've ever run out of battery power and you just want to plug in your flashlight to keep it going, now you can do it with the S1R Baton. This flashlight has a bunch of features. It's got moonlight, low, medium, high, turbo, and on moonlight it lasts for 325 hours. You use a TIR optic, which gives you more total light out the front, and its beam angle is 30 degrees and its field angle is 73 degrees. The XML2 in there has got a color temperature of about 6000 Kelvin, so it's a nice cool color temperature, super high light output, and it achieves record highs on my luxometer. It comes with a pretty high quality 16350. It's only 550 milliamp hours, but it's a special protected battery that has terminals on the top to allow you to charge from the tail cap. So in conclusion, this is a simple light that can easily be pressed on, off, and has mode memory, so if you're in turbo it'll go back to turbo, if it's in moonlight it'll go back to moonlight. You can triple click to strobe, but a lot of people don't use SOS, that's why they've taken that feature right out of there. So this is a fully featured light, and if you want all those options, you're willing to pay for it, then definitely go for the Olight S1R. So you can get that tail charger and charge it up, keep it going when you need to keep going. So keep watching this video if you want to see the details and all the little things that I've tested on this thing. So a big plus to having that tail charger is that if the power goes out, you can leave it on, do a tail stand, light up the entire room, and off an 8000 milliamp hour battery pack it'll probably last an entire week, even on high. So if the power takes a long time to come back on, you don't have to worry about it, it'll just keep on running. And if you have more backup batteries, you can always plug those in as well. So it's a big advantage over other flashlights where you have to take the battery out to charge it, and when you take it out you're not going to be able to use it, and you have to wait for it to finish charging unless you have spares. To change between modes, you just hold it for 1 second, it goes to the next mode, and it goes to the next one, medium, high, turbo, back to moonlight. Actually it goes back to low, so it won't cycle back to moonlight because moonlight is only accessible by the 2-second press. There's a lot of different things you can do. You can go into a 3-minute timer to turn it off, or a 9-minute timer to turn it off. So if you have it lighting up the room and you want it to turn off in 3 minutes, you just double click, it blinks once, and in 3 minutes it'll turn off. If you want to give yourself 9 minutes, double click again, blinks twice, that gives you 9 minutes. So you can just do a tail stand, leave it there, and then if you fall asleep or whatever, it'll turn off by itself after 9 minutes. Now to get to turbo, you can double click from off, or when it's already on and you want to go to turbo while it's on, you double click and then hold on the second click. And you can always get to turbo using those two methods, and then just single clicked off. To get to strobe, you just triple click. So in strobe you can use the timer as well. If you double click, that's 3 minutes, you double click again, blinks twice, so that's 9 minutes. Now let's take a look at the lockout mode. If you single click it, it'll turn on, so you might not want that in your bag, because if it turns on your bag it'll melt plastic. It's a very powerful light on turbo. And so if you hold it for 3 seconds, 1, 2, 3, it turns on for a bit and then turns off. Now when you press the button, there's a red light behind the button, it lights up. That also tells you when the battery's low. The only way to get out of lockout mode is to hold it for 2 seconds and it'll jump straight to moonlight. And from moonlight you can switch to any other mode you want. And keep in mind that if you go to high or turbo, it'll be memorized for only 10 minutes. That's a good thing, because if you have it on turbo and you turn it off, you throw it into a backpack or something and you accidentally turn it on, then it's going to burn a hole in your backpack, and that's no good. So what they've done is made a 10-minute countdown timer, and after 10 minutes turbo and high will be unmemorized and it'll go to medium the next time you turn it on. Then in medium, it won't burn anything out. So that's it. That's all the different clicks there are, and that's all the things you can do with this light. On high, it only runs at 0.5 amp, so being able to dump 0.74 amps into it allows you to run it on high for the entire life of this battery pack. So if you take the side clip off, put a magnet on it, and then put some heat shrink on it, you can mount it to the side of things, and that makes it a lot more useful. And if you want to order one, this thing is 6.12 millimeters wide at the bottom and 7.01 at the top, so it's tapered. And the magnet should be approximately 20 millimeters long, and this flat part of the clip is actually a total of 34 millimeters long. So I'm just going to provide some overlap here, about that much. Now we just hit it up with some heat. So it's pretty handy to have. I'm sure you'll find it useful. So as the name suggests, the total internal reflection lens relies on light hitting the medium boundary between the plastic and the air, and if that angle is greater than the critical angle and the refraction index on the other side of the reflector is less, then that light is completely bounced off, and it'll bounce off at a certain angle, and that's why they've made this parabolic, so that when that light hits it, it shoots it straight down the middle. It's the same way fiber optic cables work. The light just keeps bouncing inside all the way down for kilometers, and that's a very highly efficient way of refracting light. And since they're basing it on that phenomenon, they're getting actually almost 100% of that light coming through. Some of the light's going to hit the side, be smaller than the critical angle, and then come out. But if you have a white plastic housing, that light's going to hit that and then bounce back in and come out the front still. Not 100%, but white surfaces have a reflectivity of over 90%, so it's good to have a white housing. So the S1R owes a lot of its out the front lumens to the high efficiency TIR optic. The convoy reflectors are pretty efficient as well, but it bases everything on that mirror finish and reflecting the light off that. So if you have small imperfections in your mirror finish, you're going to lose that light into heat, and this thing's just going to get hot instead of reflecting the light out the front. In comparison to the other single LED and single cell flashlights, this one scores the highest in the luxometer, and that's probably because of its high color temperature and high efficacy due to that high color temperature. It uses the XML2 LED, which is a pretty good LED, and it puts out about 1033 lumens. It's rated for 900, but I calculate that it's putting out about 1033. It gets 48 on the luxometer, which is pretty good. The beam angles are about medium at 30 degrees. And the illumination of the park is pretty good. If you're walking through that park and you've got this flashlight, it will light it up quite well, and you'll feel pretty safe with that amount of light. The trail and sidewalks also get lit up pretty well with the medium size distribution and the 900 or 1000 lumens of output. Now the field illumination is pretty fair or poor because it's not a thrower and it's more of a medium distribution. So it's good for right up at your feet and a little bit far away, but not all the way across the field. So I'd say it's fair to poor. As you can see, it's struggling to light up the buildings on the other side, so it's not a spotlight or a thrower. So let's compare the S1R against the Convoy L6 and the Convoy C8. Both of these flashlights are throwers, so they're going to punch a lot of the light across the field and you'll be able to see the building no problem with these. The S1R isn't supposed to be a thrower, so it can't really compare, but it's good to see what throwers can do in comparison to the S1R. So if you want a big thrower, get the L6, or if you want a compact thrower, get the C8. I'll put links in the description to both of these. If you want a compact thrower, the C8 is definitely the one to go with. This one is the new version, and it comes with the new firmware. So it's off-time memory instead of on-time memory, so it's more intuitive to use. It's got a programmable driver too, so you can program it to the modes that you like. Make sure you don't get the C8s with the old firmware. You definitely want the new firmware. It's a lot better. It's got a pretty complicated user interface, but it can be pretty simple as well. If you just want to use Moonlight, it's pretty easy to use Moonlight. If you want Turbo, you just double click for Turbo. And then it's got the timer. The fading on and off can't be turned off, and to some users, the fading on and off is awesome, but some people might not like it, so that's a personal preference. Make sure you like fading on and off. The driver's got a very low flicker percent. It's only 5%. It's got a low pulse width modulation frequency, but that's okay because the percent flicker and the flicker index is very low. You don't even notice it. It's more like an incandescent bulb that flickers at 59 Hertz, but you can't see it because it doesn't dim that much. It doesn't have that much percent flicker. The form factor is good because the side switch is easy to push with your thumb, and that's always been a good thing for flashlights. The runtime is great on this. It beats every other single flashlight out there, and it has 325 hours or 14 days of continuous runtime on moonlight mode. On high it doesn't run very long, it's only 0.2 hours max, but for a small flashlight to put out that much light, that's expected. It has good low battery protection, and the battery just turns off because it's a protected battery. And I couldn't take this thing apart. I think you'd have to smash it apart or use a knife and forcefully take it apart. So this thing's not good for people who want to replace the LED or people who want to replace the driver. So I'd say the customizability is very poor, and you can't replace anything in this thing. It's got a drop resistance of 1.5 meters, so you can just drop it from waist height, no problem. And it's water resistant up to 2 meters, so you don't have to worry about it ever getting wet. The temperature management for this thing is excellent because it automatically reduces its output if it's hot, and it doesn't get too hot for your hand to hold. The heat sinking is poor because it gets hot very quickly, but that's normal for small flashlights. And the price of this thing is quite high. It's $65 US. But if you think about it, you're getting quite a bit for that. You're getting that tail charger, you're getting that special battery, you've got all those modes, and the number one thing is that you can hardwire this thing and run it while charging it. And that's invaluable because if the power goes out and all you have is a laptop with USB ports, you can actually plug this into your laptop or plug this into any emergency battery pack, any USB port, and you can charge it while you're lighting up the room, or if you're on the go, you can charge it up in your car, no problem. So for all the functionality and the convenience of having that tail charger, I don't think $65 is too much. So I've rated it 8 out of 10 because some people might appreciate all the options and some people might not, so I've rated it 8 out of 10. The intended purpose of this light is everyday carry, or with that tail you can easily hardwire it as a task light and just keep it running. So that's a special feature that none of the other flashlights can give you. So if you really want to be able to hardwire it and make it through long power outages, this thing's the thing to use. It's even better than a Convoy S2 Plus because you've got to take the battery out and you've got to switch batteries every couple hours. You can just plug this in and let it run all night long. The battery it comes with is pretty low internal resistance. It's not high capacity, but that's because it's a protected cell and it's got the terminals on top. At 550 milliamp hours, that's still pretty good for that size. Keep in mind that the tail is also magnetic, so that's a good feature. You can stick it onto the side of your car, onto anything metallic, and get light where you need it. And of course I always recommend putting a magnet on the side with some heat shrink, and if you don't have a magnet that size you can easily order one online, and you can order the heat shrink as well. So in conclusion, this is a great everyday carry or a hardwired light, which opens a world of possibilities to running it for hundreds of hours. This is a flashlight for anyone in search of a feature-rich flashlight that has almost every single option you can ask for under the sun. The main thing to keep in mind is that it's a small flashlight, everyday carry, and it still puts out close to 1,000 lumens. And because of the high color temperature, I think it's rating really high on my luxometer, and that's why it's getting 48. The light distribution is actually one of the wider ones of all the flashlights I've tested, and it's 30 degrees with a field angle of 73 degrees. It's kind of a medium distribution light. Flickering is not an issue with this flashlight either, and it's only 5% flicker, which is the lowest of all the ones I've tested. So if you're looking for a high quality light, this one will give you that. The user interface is actually very crazy, and it has 5 modes, but the ways you can do the timer and lockout and get to turbo, there's a lot of different things to memorize. But if you just want to use it in a simple way, you can do that as well. Just click, turn it on and off. The build quality of this thing I'd say is 10 out of 10. You can't really make anything better than this if you tried, because it's water resistant, it's impact resistant, you can chuck it around. It has a very good runtime compared to any of the other flashlights, and that's because it has a very low moonlight mode, 325 hours. It's over double that of the Convoy L6, and that's a massive light too. And here's the most expensive flashlight of them all, $65, and that's why I've given it a value for the dollar of 8 out of 10. Only if you're looking for all those features and that hardwired tail are you going to pay that kind of money for it. But some people want all the features, and some people want the highest output of light, so you go for the 6000 Kelvin high output LED. So if you want to have all the features in a small compact form factor, stick it in your pocket, this is the flashlight to go with. If you put a diffuser on the front, you can use the S1R as a video light, and if you're recording long videos, you can hook it up and keep it going for many hours. And this is not even on turbo. If you kick it up to turbo, it'll just be insane. So it works very well as a super powerful video light, and if you hardwire it, you can run it on high for as long as you want. If you haven't watched my other videos, then you probably don't know about the diffuser. I get the diffuser paper out of the iPhone screens, old iPhone screens, or any LCD screen will have it. It's what they use to diffuse the image so that you see an even image on the LCD screen. So let's say you got a nice diffuse light right now. It's a little bit hot in the middle because I only have one piece on there, but you can double it up. But it looks pretty even because you can see some light being spread all around. So you can change the S1R's distribution pretty easily just by adding that diffusing paper. Now I'll take it off. It's just on there with double-sided sticky tape. Now look, you can't use this as a video light because it's just too hot in the middle. Like, look at this, this is ridiculous. So you get that little diffusing paper out of an LCD screen, you stick it on there with some double-sided tape or whatever, and it makes a very good diffused video light. You can stick two pieces if you want it even more diffused, and you can also use the other optical papers in there that spread the light more horizontally or vertically, whatever you want. Obviously you want it horizontal because 16:9 is the aspect ratio of most video cameras. So I'll leave a link to the video that shows you how to get the diffusing paper out of an old iPhone LCD screen, and then you can make diffusers and turn your fixed optics LED flashlights into flooders or video lights. So that concludes my review. I hope that helps, and thanks for watching. Now we're going to test out the Olight S1R versus the On The Road M3. The Olight on max, and as you can see, it's a nice wide beam, illuminates the close tree no problem. Medium tree, it lights up, and then the far away tree, it's having some difficulty because it's got such a wide beam, and then the really far away tree has no chance of lighting up. So this is a pretty good light. It lights up this scene very well. If you're gonna go walk out there and check things out, this will definitely do the trick. Now let's switch to the On The Road M3, which has a tighter beam. And you can see it lights up this tree no problem. Medium tree no problem. For the far away tree, it does a better job than the S1R because it has a nice tight beam. And then the very far away tree, it does light up a little bit better, but it's not that bright. So if there's something up there you want to see, it'd be kind of difficult. But this is also a fine light to light up the scene. Both lights will do a good job for you. I guess it just depends on what distribution you want to use when you walk out there. I don't mind using either of these. I think both of them will work. But if you want to see a little further, go with the M3. So let's do a side by side. S1R on your left, M3 on your right. So the M3 is a lower color temperature, it doesn't look as bright, but the S1R is a higher color temperature, so it looks a little brighter. They're about the same lumens. I guess it just depends on what you prefer. So the Olight's pretty good for walking down trails and sidewalks and stuff. Light it up. If it's off, you double click and you get turbo. You can light up the whole park. So this is a pretty good light to have walking around. Lights up this park no problem. It has pretty wide distribution, has some field angle to it, so it lets you see a lot down the middle and to your side's peripheral vision, which is important when you need to see everything around you. So this scene here is being shot using the S1R as a video camera light, and it looks pretty good. It's got a single diffuser on there. If you want to make it more diffused, you can put two diffusers, but this looks pretty good already. Without that light, it looks pretty dark, so it's good to have that video light there.